The story opens inside the Dolmabahce palace on the shores of the Bosphorus in the late 19th century. Chandeliers of carved crystal hang from impossibly high ceilings, throwing fractured light over carpets woven in silk and walls lined with gold leaf. European diplomats, dressed in the latest fashions from Paris and Vienna, murmur their admiration as they are led through hall after hall, marble staircases, mirrored salons, and grand reception rooms built to rival Versailles. The Sultan moves among them, a figure meant to embody continuity and power. Proof that the sick man of Europe still knows how to dazzle. Yet outside the palace gates, unpaid soldiers grumble in barracks, tax farmers squeeze villages in Anatolia, and in the counting houses of London and Paris, ledgers show Ottoman interest payments overdue. The magnificence of Dolmabahce is real, but so is the emptiness of the treasury that paid for it. The central mystery emerges. How did an empire that rules Mecca, the Balkans, and the Levant end up unable to control its own budget? And why did this make Britain and France more dangerous than any invading army? The answer lies not in the palace's crystal, but in a series of quiet loan contracts and financial clauses that began transferring the Middle East's wealth to European banks, a story most histories barely mention. To understand how that could happen, we step back to the mid-19th century, when the Ottoman Empire still appears formidable. Its map is impressive, from the mountains of the Balkans across Anatolia, down through Syria and Palestine to the Arabian Peninsula and North Africa. It holds the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, key ports like Salonika and Smyrna, and choke points on routes between Europe and Asia. Diplomats treat the Sultan as a major player. Other monarchs court his favor. Yet beneath this surface, the empire's economic foundations are weak. Its economy is still largely agrarian, dependent on peasant farmers who work with wooden plows and traditional tools. The tax system relies on intermediaries and corrupt officials who skim revenues before they reach the capital. The state struggles to fund a modern army and navy, and the administrative machinery is badly outdated. Meanwhile, Britain and France are racing ahead, fueled by steam engines, factories, ironclads, and sophisticated financial markets. In European newspapers and salons, the Ottomans are increasingly described as the sick man of Europe, still dangerous if provoked, but clearly lagging behind. On maps and in ceremonial protocol, the empire looks intact. In budget reports, deficits and improvised fixes reveal how fragile it already is. That fragility will be exposed brutally when war arrives. By the 1860s, the situation has begun to spiral. The empire is already committed to paying heavy interest to foreign bondholders, but tax revenues are unstable and often misappropriated. When the treasury runs dry before a new foreign loan can be arranged, the government turns to the Galata, bankers, local Greek and Armenian, financiers based in Istanbul's Galata district. These intermediaries provide short-term, emergency credit at eye-watering interest rates, sometimes 18 or 20% or more. These loans are meant to bridge gaps, but in practice, they trap the state in an even deeper cycle of dependency. New debts are taken on not to fund new projects, but simply to service old obligations. Then in 1873, a financial panic in Vienna triggers a global downturn known as the Long Depression. International capital becomes scarce. Investors grow wary of risky bonds from 6 states. At almost the same time, nature turns hostile. Droughts and crop failures strike key Ottoman regions, famines spread, and peasants, who form the empire's tax base, are themselves on the brink of starvation. Yet interest payments to European bondholders remain fixed. As a share of government income, debt service climbs from manageable levels to roughly half of all revenues. Every fish caught in Ottoman waters, every sack of grain taxed, effectively sends half its value abroad before a single soldier or teacher is paid. In London, such bonds are still advertised for their high yield. In Anatolia, they mean tax collectors demanding money from villages that have none. Inevitably, a breaking point comes. By 1875, the Ottoman treasury cannot meet the next major round of coupon payments on its foreign debt. the government issues what becomes known as the Decree of Ramadan, announcing that it will henceforth pay only 50% of scheduled interest in cash, with the rest converted into low-interest certificates to be honored in the distant future. The echoes of this story reach into the present. Many of the instruments used against the Ottomans, conditional loans, externally imposed financial controls, and the pledge of future revenue streams, reappear in modern guises. International financial institutions step in when countries face crisis, offering assistance tied to policy changes, privatizations and austerity. Emerging powers finance infrastructure with contracts that grant them long-term concessions over ports, minerals or land. Analysts debate whether this is help, partnership or a new form of dependence, but the structure is familiar. The Ottoman experience shows how quickly the logic of "we must borrow to survive and modernize" can turn into "we no longer decide where our own taxes go." It also shows that once sovereignty over revenue is ceded, recovering it can take a century. The lesson is not that countries should never borrow, but that every loan is more than a line of credit. It is a political relationship. For the Ottomans, that relationship slowly but surely transferred. Control of the Middle East's wealth from Istanbul to European capitals. For states today, the question remains painfully similar. Who owns your debt and what do they really want in return?